Thank you very much. That's it. Okay, so welcome everybody. Today's topic, the reason I wanted to discuss this today is twofold. First of all, with what's going on in the media and in the news today, whether we consider it to be real news or fake news, with all that swirling around, there is a lot of verbal abuse. Also, our parsha this week is Mishpatim, which deals with damages. It deals with many, many laws, but a big chunk of it is dealing with damages. So how does the Torah view non-monetary, non-physical damages? How does the Torah view the way that we relate to one another, the way that we speak to one another? Right? You know, we all grew up with sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never harm me. And we've said many times that I think when we look back over our lifetime at pain that we felt, the most profound pain that we felt has not been physical pain, right, but it's been emotional pain. It's been a tragedy. It's been a loss. It's been a humiliation. So certainly the reality does not fit with the children's rhyme. So let's take a look at some of our sources. Okay? It is a one-page, two-side source. Let us begin first with the Torah, the Pasuk in Vayikra. V'lo tonu ish et amito. A person shall not wrong his fellow person. V'yareta me elokecha. And you shall fear God. Ki ani Hashem elokechem. Oh, I made this mistake again. I didn't, I have God's name in all of these. Let's be very careful with all of these pages. My mistake. Ki ani Hashem elokechem.
Should we return them to you?
Yes, or take it home, but yeah. Carefully. Yes, carefully. Because I am Hashem, your God. Now, this is very, very broad. Right? Not wronging someone else. The Torah discusses not wronging someone in business. And there's a certain amount that I'm allowed to raise the price if I'm selling something above the regular market value in order to increase my profit. And once I cross a certain threshold, whether I'm the seller and I'm pushing the price up, or I'm the buyer and I'm knocking the price down, there's a certain threshold that I can get up until, and I can't go past that. But this, we'll see as we go further, is not talking about physical damage, which the Torah gives us. If I physically accost someone else, there are 5 different payments that need to be made. There's the actual damage, nezek. There's the tsar. There's the pain. There's ripoy. There is the doctor's bills. There is shevet. There is workman's compensation. There is boshet. There is the humiliation that was involved. And when I cause physical damage, I of course need to make that other person whole and pay that person. But over here it's talking about, it says, V'yareta me elokecha. You shall fear your God. And Rashi over there in Vayikra points out that the Torah uses this term where no one really knows what my intention was besides myself and God. And when faced with those situations, the Torah says, "V'yareta me elokecha." Right? I give someone advice. I give someone financial advice, and the pretense is I'm giving them the best possible advice for themselves. However, I'm going to stand to gain personally if I guide this person in a certain direction. Now, there's no way anyone knows what my true intention was. I know, and God knows. So lo tonu is talking about wronging a person in a way that no one else might really know what's going on besides you and God. Therefore, our sages understand this to be referring to not simply physical damages, but wronging someone else, causing them some anguish, either through verbal abuse that I'm dishing out, or there are many ways besides verbal abuse that I can cause someone else a non-monetary, non-material, non-physical damage. Yes, Ida?
It's interesting that the Hebrew word davar is both word and thing.
Yeah.
That it has a verbal an announcement can have the same substance as a physical
Good.
act.
Yes. Yes.
Can you repeat what you just said? What did she say?
that the shorish, the root word dalid bet reish, right, can mean a davar, a thing, or a daber, or a dibur, or a word. And the damage can be done, right, or received in both spheres. Let's take a look at the sages, at the Talmud, at the Torah Shabbat. Yes, Warren.
You made two distinctions here. You made the distinction between something that you're wrong that only you and Hashem know because it's only intention, and another distinction between monetary damages and non-monetary damages.
Yes.
This seems to be referring to the distinction between what you and Hashem know versus what everybody else knows.
Okay, and so you're saying that there can be verbal abuse or non-physical damage that is very clear to everyone else. Good. So we're going to expand this. You're making a good point. Let's see how the Gemara, the Mishnah and the Gemara deals with this. Okay? Now, we have it in Hebrew over here, and it's in English on the second side of that first page. So everyone should follow in the manner that they are most comfortable. Kishem she'ona'ah b'mekach u'memkar. The same way there is ona'ah, there is causing anguish, there is wronging others when it comes to business dealings. Kach ona'ah badvarim. So too there is ona'ah. There is wronging, overreaching, fine. There is wronging, right, one another verbally, by words. Lo yomar lo. The kama chefet zeh. Don't go into a store and we say, and dray a cup over there and start asking, how much is this and how much is that? V'u'eina rotze likach. If your intention is not to buy it, right? If your intention is simply to then go order it on Amazon, right? So don't put the storekeeper or the workers there, don't waste their time, and don't, even though the workers don't really care, I don't think they gain by the individual sales, but don't waste their time. And how you Baal Teshuvah. If a person is a person who is a Baal Teshuvah, who has changed their ways and has returned to traditional observant Judaism, lo yomar lo, don't say to that person, Zechor ma'asecha rishonim. I remember what you used to do. Imhu ben geirim. If the person is a descendant of converts, lo yomar lo, Zechor ma'aseh avotecha. Do you know what your parents or grandparents were doing? Right, we had a Gemara recently in the morning class, how many descendants of our fiercest enemies, like Haman, Sancherev, Sisra, these are all from Tanakh, arch enemies, that their grandchildren were Torah scholars, their grandchildren were teachers of children, were teachers of the great Hillel and Shammai, were taught by the descendants of some of our worst enemies. And I mentioned you read many stories of descendants of Nazis who converted to Judaism and are now learning Torah in Yerushalayim. So don't bring up their past, well, what your father or grandfather had done. Shenemar, as it says, Viger lo toneh velo tilachatzenu. A convert you shall not afflict, you shall not wrong, you shall not pressure, you should not push. You shouldn't push those buttons, we would say. Tana Rabbanan. The Gemara then, which expands on the Mishnah is almost like a zip file of the Torah Shebaal Peh. And the Gemara is, the Talmud is the discussions that took place in the different study halls and was explaining that, unzipping that file. Lo tonu ishad amito. The Braita says, the verse says, one should not wrong his fellow. And the Braita first states its conclusion, and then it presents how it reached that conclusion. Bo'nat dvarim hakatam medaber. That's the conclusion. We're talking about verbal pain being caused. Now, how do we reach that conclusion? Ata omer bo'nat dvarim. Do you say it's talking about verbal? Oh, ein ela bo'nat mamon. Maybe it's talking about wronging someone else in a physical, in a fiscal, financial way. Kusha Omer, well, another pasuk already says, "V'chi timkuru mem kalamitecha." If you're selling something to your friend, o kana, or purchasing miyad amitecha from your friend, do not wrong him. Hare onad mamon amor. So you see, wronging someone financially is already spoken about in the Torah. Hamani mekayim. So how do I then understand this verse? Lo tonu ishad amito v'onat dvarim. It's talking about verbal wronging. Ha-ketzad. How? Im haya bal teshuva, ayimar lo zecham asecha rishonim. If he's a bal teshuva, don't say, I remember what you used to do. Im haya ben gerim, lo yomar lo zecham aseh avotecha. Right? If he's a descendant of converts, don't say, let's discuss what your father or grandparents used to do. If he's a convert and he comes to learn Torah, that same mouth that was eating pig, that was eating all of these disgusting things, is now going to come learn Torah, Shenemar, which was stated in Mipi Agvura, from the mouth, so to speak, of God. If a person's going through a tough time, the person's going through a tough illness, or heaven forbid, a person is burying their children. Al yomer lo, don't say to the person, like Eov's, like Job's friends said to him, Halo yiratcha, kislatcha, v'tikvatcha, v'tom derachecha, zechor na mihu naki avad. What did they say to him? Right? They started to give him this little musar talk. Right? Right? The fear of God should be your confidence, and your hope should be the integrity of your ways. Whoever perished being innocent. Right? Don't start preaching how the person has better, correct your ways. If people are coming to you and they're asking, where can I get some produce? Don't send people on a wild goose chase. Oh, go there, you'll find it. And a practical joke. I'll send the guy. I'll send the guy to to the shoe store to buy some grapes. Right? Rabbi Yisroel af al yitleinav ala mekach be'shah ein lo damim. Right? Also, don't cast your eyes on something and make it appear as if you're going to buy something. If you're not going to buy it, you don't have the money for it. Shrei hadavar masur lalev. Right? So this is one part of it. Right? It's not all of it, Warren, but the matter is given over to your heart. Right? For those last two. The last two, when you send someone, go there to buy it. Oh, I thought he really could sell it over there. Oh, I thought I could afford it. The chol davar masur lalev, any matter that's given over to the heart, Nemarbo, the pasuk says, V'areta me elokecha. Right? You shall fear God. He knows what you're really thinking. He knows if your intention was to help the person or to make a bit of a mockery out of that person. Rav Yochanan said, in the name of Rav Shimon ben Yochai, in the name of the great Rav Shimon ben Yochai, he was many attribute the Zohar to him. The Gemara Shabbos tells how he went into a cave and miraculously survived there for 12 years and then another year. Gadol onah dvarim me'onat mamon. Causing someone verbal, emotional pain is worse, is a greater transgression than causing them financial pain. By one it says, fear God, meaning look who has their back. By the other one it doesn't say that. It says, Zeh begufo, another reason. One is begufo, one is hitting the person themselves. The other is hitting mamono, the person's possessions. One can be paid back. I cause you monetary damage. How much is the damage? Here's a check. Here's the cash. I can pay that back. And the person can be made whole. V'zeh lo nitan lihishavon. Whereas this cannot be given to be paid back. Tani Tana Kamed Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, and in front of Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, the following braita was said over: Kol hamalbin penei chavero berabim, someone who humiliates someone else berabim publicly, ki'ilu shofech damim. It's as if you have spilled their blood. Amalei. Now, Rav Nachman responded as follows, meaning what's happening over here is something that happens in our world quite often. Someone will approach me and say, Rabbi, I once heard this and this. Is that true? All right? Is that based on a true teaching? So there are many teachings that were floating around, and a student might hear it, and he'll go before his Rabbi. So one of the students went before Nachman bar Yitzchak with this teaching, in order for him to verify, is that an accurate teaching? Is that a true teaching or not? The teaching again being that you whiten someone else's face, it's as if you spilled his blood. Amalei shapir kamarta. That is a verified, correct teaching. You said well. The chazinale the azil sumka va'atu chivra. What happens? At first the person goes white, the blood drains, and then it returns. It returns with a fury, and the person turns uncomfortably red. Amalei Abaye said to Rav Dimi, B'ma'arava, Abaye was from Babylon. Rav Dimi would travel often back from Israel to Babylon. So he said to me, asked him, B'ma'arava, in Israel, B'mai Zihiri, on what are they particularly careful with? Amalei, he responded, Ba'achvurei ape. They're very careful about whitening someone's face. They're very careful about what they say, what they do, not to humiliate, not to embarrass any other person.
You also can't pull it back.
Mm-hmm.
Once it's out, it's out. A physical object you can withdraw, but you can't pull back the verbal.
Good. Yes. You know, a line that I like to quote often is, before you say it, you own it.
Yeah, that's right.
After you say it, it owns you.
Yep. Yeah,
right?
that's a good one.
And especially in our world, where you've got that send button, right? You know, it's incredible how the Chavetz Chaim said back in his technology of the 1920s, 1930s, how everything is there to increase our emunah, to increase our belief. And all of these teachings become very, very tangible. They become very tangible to us. You know, and once a person posts something, right, you can't, right, you can take down the post. It's already been reposted. It's already been retweeted. People have screenshots, right? So when Chazal say, when our sages say, you know, that words, you know, whatever you say is always being written down. There's an accounting of everything, right? We see that in our world. We see that in our world. And people used to think, you know, how can all that be stored And now we know that the smallest thumb drive, right, can hold, for 1 million people, every word that they've ever said. Right? That's what goes on. Yes. Yes. The Sefer HaChinuch, those who are on the second side in English, come back to the first side for just a minute. At the very bottom there, under the line, the Sefer HaChinuch is a fascinating sefer. It literally means the book of education. And it was written by a father, he writes in his introduction, for his son, that each Shabbat he should be able to, instead of just running around playing with his friends, he should be able to review the mitzvot that were contained in each of the parshiot of the Torah. Right? And he lists each of the mitzvot, and he gives the reason behind it. Now, he doesn't give the reason. It's certainly presumptuous for any person to think that I can tell you why God commanded. Right? But he gives us an inkling of what we can understand as the reason behind the mitzvot. And he also speaks about who it pertains to. So I quote you a little bit of him here, and then at the bottom of the next page again. So he writes, the root of this commandment is well known, for it is to give peace, shalom, among the creatures. Probably I would define that amongst the creations. Right? And that's a very important word. Because if I refer to you as, a creature, right? To us, a creature like, ooh, what type of creature is that? But if we recognize that every human being is a creature, meaning the root of that being create, right? So if I view every person as having been created, then I understand that this person is very dear to his, her creator. And that helps me to treat each person properly. So it's that there should be shalom amongst people. And great is peace. Gadol HaShalom, how great is peace. For as through it is blessing found in the world. That's how bracha, that's how blessing comes to the world. Right? We say there is no kli, machazik bracha. There is no vessel that contains blessing as well as peace, like the way peace does. That's why our Amidah, our Shemona Esrei, always ends with the blessing of Sim Shalom, Shalom Rav, with Shalom, with peace. And the very last words of Birkat HaMazon, of grace after meals, is Hashem Yivarech et Amo v'Shalom. Right? That is the Kli Machazik Bracha. That is the vessel that contains all of the blessings. And difficult is disagreement, and machloket, dispute, faribel. Where's the word faribel come from? Is that an Afrikaans term?
No.
Is it Yiddish? It's Yiddish?
A
faribel?
Yeah. The South Africans use it a lot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think it is Yiddish.
It's a Yiddish word?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I only heard it from the South Africans.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you guys cause faribbles. I'm saying the term I only heard. Yes. Right? And how many curses, tragedies are dependent, right, come about as a result of machloket. Okay. So let's go through a number of, which is on the bottom there now, of the second side, by the bullet points there. Hurting another's feelings in writing or with a gesture is also included in this prohibition. The Chavetz Chaim says, don't think, right, I didn't say anything, right? Sometimes, right, first of all, writing, right, Lashon Hara, right, which is, we're not even going into Lashon Hara now. This is besides Lashon Hara, speaking disparagingly about others, right? But the best definition of Lashon Hara, which would also apply over here, is conveying. It's not necessarily saying, it's conveying. I can convey through speech. I can convey through that which I write down. And sometimes I can convey with just a look, a roll of a gesture, a roll of the eyes. Right?
If
Yeah.
you've done something that you know maybe isn't right, what do you do? How do you fix it?
So whenever we do anything wrong, there are 3 steps of teshuvah, of correcting, right? Teshuvah, right? We often define it as repenting, right? Which is actually more of a Christian concept. Teshuvah actually means returning,
Right.
meaning if you've done something wrong, what do you want to do? You want to restore the relationship to where it was before you did that wrong. That's what teshuvah is. You want to return, right? So the 3 steps to that are regretting it, right? It is admitting to it, right? So when it is just between us and God, it's admitting to God, right? And when we've done something wrong to a person, we have to admit to that person, I was wrong, right? And we have to resolve not to do it again, right? And we understand if that's between us and God, that's between us and man,
Because people make mistakes.
Yes, we all make mistakes, right? But let's say I wronged someone, right? And I regret it. I won't do it again, but I'm not going to admit it. I'm not going to apologize to that person.
Or what if you're not quite aware?
There's
certain things you maybe realize later on that you were wrong.
So then at that point,
yeah.
a person needs to say, listen, I realize now that, what I did was harmful, was painful, and I'm sorry, right? But if you're missing any of those 3 ingredients, the person doesn't apologize, they might regret and not do it again. The person apologizes and won't do it again, but doesn't really regret it, right? The apology that's a non-apology is, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Right. It's your problem, not mine.
Can I make an apology right now in front of everyone if I realize I did something? So, no.
At the end of the class,
all right.
if necessary,
Yeah.
right? Right? So, I'm sorry you feel that way is a non-apology, right? It's on you, right? So I won't do it again, right? I regret it, but I don't really regret it, right? You took it that way, right? Right? Or if I feel bad, I apologize, but I'm going to do it again, right? I'm going to hit the bottle. Sorry, I have no intent of getting myself straight, whatever it is, right? Again, that's lacking. Okay, so very interesting. Let's hear our Hebrew speakers. Okay, guys, they find a hint for this idea that even a gesture is a terrible thing. Talking about, this is when Jacob was giving the blessings to his sons, and he speaks rather harshly to Shimon and Levi, and he says, Ki ba'apam hargu ish. Ki ba'apam, because with their af, which means their anger, they killed a man. Referring either to the city of Shechem, or what they tried to do to Yosef, however we'll explain it. But there are those that say that we see and hear a hint that a facial expression can be very, very harmful. You hear it? Ki ba'apam. Af can mean what? Anger, or it can mean the face, the nose. Right? So ba'apam, with your nose. Right? Right? Hargu ish. We can kill someone with our nose. Right? Ba'apam. Right? With just a facial expression, a gesture, right, is enough, can kill the person. The prohibition applies even when no one else is present. Even in the privacy. So I didn't do it to this person in front of anyone else. Right? Even in the privacy of one's home. Between husband and wife. Between parents and children. It applies there also. Right? Even if it was unintentional. That's not what I meant to do. The story is told about Rav Moshe Feinstein of blessed memory. His young grandchild was playing with some friends. So he saw his grandfather pass by. So he ran over to Rav Moshe and he and he gave him a hug, or Moshe gave his grandchild a kiss. Right? Then Rav Moshe walked over and greeted each of the other children also. Right? Actually, he kissed each of the other children. Nowadays we'd say, right? But it was a Rav Moshe kiss. You don't have to worry. Right? So as not to hurt their feelings. Okay? So, even if I haven't done anything, but there's something that could unintentionally cause someone else to be slighted, so then we have to be careful with that. The prohibition applies even to minors, even to one's own children. There are times that we've wronged our kids and we need to apologize. We had a situation when my kids were younger that I got a phone call. My kids were at a bar mitzvah, and I still feel terrible about this. My kids were at a bar mitzvah, and I got a phone call from the caterer there, how my kids were, my kids were acting with tremendous disrespect, that they were not treating an older person properly, right? So when my kids came home, they got it from me, right? In the end, I was wrong. In the end, first of all, this person was not fully aware of his faculties, and I heard clearly from Rabbi that were there that this person was going nuts on kids, and they reacted as kids. But my kids were not even part of that group. But I jumped, and I reacted, and I apologized to them. And this is something that still comes up. How hurt they were to come home to a steaming parent, and I wasn't really listening to what they had to say. And I was terribly wrong in that respect.
False
Yeah.
report.
I'm sorry?
False report.
False report. Yeah. I'm sorry? נכון. בכלל. באחוז אחד לא היה, נכון.
And that means
No, he quoted that they had not done anything wrong, and I said, correct, not a thing, not even 1%. Yeah, not a thing wrong. So it applies to minors and applies to our own children. There are times when a person needs to give rebuke, and that needs to be done in a way that's not going to cause embarrassment. That can't be done in front of other people, including to one's own children. It can't be done in front of other people, and not even your own children. There's a beautiful story about the Steipler Rav Zatzal, who was already well on in years, and he showed up unexpectedly at a bar mitzvah of a boy. And this wasn't a relative, and the parents didn't have much of a connection with the Steipler. And he came to the bar mitzvah, went over, wished mazel tov to the boy, whispered something in his ear, right? And then he wished mazel tov to the parents, and then he left. And the father was very, very, very honored that the Steipler had come, but was a little bit confused why he had come. So he went over to the Steipler and asked him, thank you for honoring us by coming. That was his name. His name was the Steipler. He came from a town called Steipel. His actual name was Rabbi Yisroel Yaakov Kanievsky of Zatzal, blessed memory. And the Steipler explained that during one Rosh Hashanah, there were children playing outside, and they were disturbing the davening. So he went outside to quiet the kids down. And there was one child there, and he spoke to him somewhat sternly about, not disturbing the davening. And the person said, I just came here to get a siddur. I wasn't playing outside. The kids that were playing outside, when they saw you coming, they all ran. Right? Who sticks around? The one who hasn't done anything wrong. Right? He's the one who sticks around. So the Steipler apologized to him. But he was a minor. And therefore the forgiveness that the minor gave him as a child wasn't fully a valid forgiveness. So he asked the child, what's your name? And when's your birthday? And he took a mental note, when this boy will become bar mitzvah. and he made the trek to go to this boy's bar mitzvah. Now he's bar mitzvah. Now he's a gadol. Now he's already an adult. Now his forgiveness is forgiveness. And he asked mechila. And he asked forgiveness. If we do something wrong, sometimes, if we're in a position of authority, or if we're a parent, certainly a position of authority, sometimes we think that we will undermine ourselves if I should ask them for forgiveness. I should say I'm sorry to them. Well, actually, we undermine ourselves when we expect them to act in a way that we ourselves don't act. And we teach our children, you've done something wrong, you should apologize. Well, we have to model that behavior. And if we've done something wrong to them or to others, to whoever it is, we must apologize. Next one, right? Oh, and I'm sorry, here is again from the Sefer HaChinuch that I quoted before. Again, it's a great background there. And even to minors, it is proper to be careful not to pain them with words more than what is necessary, unless in regard to what they need a lot, so they will take rebuke, right? You have to be careful. We need to discipline, we need to guide our children, but it needs to be done properly. And even to one's sons and daughters who live in a man's house, and one who is lenient with them not to cause them pain in these matters will find life, blessing, and honor. Right? If you're going to err one way or the other, err on the softer side, not on the harsher side. The fifth bullet point, making a negative remark about an item that the other person purchased. Such as saying you purchased, that's terrible stuff. Oh, you paid that much? Why'd you go you could have got on Amazon. Instead of going to the store and paying, they would have delivered it to your house the next day. Right? So you're causing person, you buy something, you have this, you want everyone to say, oh, that was a great purchase. Right? So even that is considered to be ona'as dvarim. Right? Right? Now, fascinating, the Maharal says on this, telling them it's a good purchase, even though you don't think it's a good purchase. Look, if they got scammed and they can return it, you probably would want to let them know that, right? But you think they overpaid. You don't think you don't like it. The Maharal says you should compliment it. And that's not a matter of being untruthful, right? Because in that person's eyes, it's worth it. It's beautiful. So therefore, to make them feel good about their purchase, that is the proper thing to do, right? Gifts, right? When you receive a gift, when you give a gift, all you care about is how is that being received by the other. So when you receive a gift, make sure, right? No matter how much you might need another tie or another pair of socks or whatever it might be. Right? Show appreciation for it. Right? Otherwise, this person went through the time and effort and cost of getting you something, and show your appreciation for that. Lastly, when someone is eager to tell you a good tiding that you might have already heard. Right? Which is, there's a beautiful story about Rav Elchanan Spector. This is during Tsarist Russia. And all young men were conscripted into the army, and people would try desperately to get out of that. Right? The Cantonists were kids that were taken when they were 7, 8, 9 years old for 25 years in the Tsar's army. So they were literally taken out of their homes when they were young, but it's all ages. And when someone would get out and would be able to get released, right, it would be a big simcha, right? The religious, physical consequences of being in the army, a Jew in the army, were often disastrous. So it happened that there was a fellow named Yaakov who was a student of Rav Spector, and every day they were all waiting to hear the news about his army status. One day, the Rav was sitting in his Beit Din. The door opened. A young man put his head in and said, Rebbe, Yaakov has been exempted. The Rav gave a big sigh of relief and a beautiful smile, and it said, Baruch Hashem, and may Hashem bless you with long years, arichut yamim, and briyut and good health for bringing me, for sharing with me this wonderful news. A few minutes later, another boy sticks his head in. Rebbe, Yaakov was exempted. With the same smile and the same radiance. Thank you for coming and sharing that wonderful news with me. Hashem should bless you with long life and good health. 4 more boys stuck their heads in at different times to tell their Rebbe the good news, and each time with the same radiance and the same joy and the same thankfulness, he gave that same blessing, making each one feel as important. And that goes back to the gift, right? Sometimes a person gives you a monetary gift, sometimes a person takes out their time in order to go and give you something, be it good news, whatever it might be. And one must show their appreciation to that, and if one doesn't, then that is causing them what we call ona'as dvarim. That's causing them a certain degree of anguish. You know, the Torah, we'll discuss it a little more on Shabbos. We discussed it Tuesday morning at our class a little bit. That this week's parsha of Mishpatim is about our day-to-day dealings. You know, and sometimes it's easy to rise up at certain moments, but where are we on the day-to-day, dealing with the people that we deal with? How are we treating them? How are we speaking to them? Right? What non-verbal cues? Right? We spoke about the gestures. The non-verbal cues are a lot more compelling than what we say. Right? We say, I love you, with a grimace, they don't feel loved. Right? You know, it's just the nonverbal cues are a lot more compelling than what we actually say. And this is a mitzvah. This is a mitzvah because this is, as the Sefer Chinuch said, because this is what creates shalom. And a parent is happy when the children are getting along. And Hashem wants us to be treating each of his other creations, each of his banim and banot, with the proper respect and care and sensitivity. And we see just how pervasive it is with all of our dealings that we have. Okay, we'll call it over here. Dove? Yes? Before anyone makes a public apology, I want to turn off the recording. Yes.
So I stayed with Ida.
This one's, no, one second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is this off?
I'm going to turn it off now.